Now available in paperback and e-readers, Spellbound, A Darker Shade of Black. Get your copy today at your favorite online bookseller. 2 weeks ago, Bakari Henderson, a 22-year-old African-American man, was brutally murdered by 15 Serbian men inside of a Greek bar in Greece after he decided to take a selfie with a Serbian woman. And when we look at the case of Bakari Henderson, I don't know which is more tragic, the death of this young man or the fact that his family did not make an effort to teach him about the life skills that he would need to survive as a black man. When I look at the case of Bakari Henderson, I see an individual who was not taught the life skills he would need to survive as a black man, because when it comes down to black men, we have to understand at an early age that the world operates very differently as it relates to us and it regards to us. When it comes down to black men, we have to watch our backs because we are behind enemy lines, not only in our own country, but abroad. And this was a life skill that your Bakari Henderson never got, because your Bakari Henderson was taught to believe in the rainbow. And he believed, because he had white friends and he was living around white people here in America, that he could behave in the same way he behaved in America abroad. Now, what your Bakari Henderson didn't understand is that the world operates very differently for black men than it does for white men, white women, and non-black men and women, and even black women. When it comes down to a black man in America and abroad, the black man has a target on his back the minute he walks out of his house. So when it comes down to a black man, he has to watch himself in his interactions with people, because when it comes down to a black man, when he goes out into the world, any interaction can lead to him winding up being arrested or winding up losing his life. And this is something black men have to deal with every day when we go outside into the world. We don't know if any interaction could be our last interaction on this earth. So we have to have a protocol for how we go out into the world, because us doing something simple as walking into a store and taking a look at a piece of merchandise can lead to a store owner confronting us about some alleged theft, or it can lead to us winding up having a confrontation with police. And in those confrontations, our lives could be lost. So a black man has to be very vigilant when he is outside in that world. And that's something Bakari Henderson was not taught, because this was a guy who thought, oh, I have some white friends, I can go out into the world and do things like other white people. And when it comes down to this Bakari Henderson, he was not prepared with the life skills a black man is going to need to survive in the world, because any critical thinking black man would say to himself, I already know I'm behind enemy lines in America. Why am I going to go to Greece? And the reason why a critical thinking black man would not go to Greece is because he already knows, one, again, he is behind enemy lines. And two, he's in this other man's country, and he's going to have to deal with life on that other man's terms. So if he goes to a country like Greece, he's going to be dealing with things on Greek terms. Moreover, if you understood the political situation going on in Greece, how their economy has pretty much collapsed, you would not be thinking about going to that country as a black man. You would think about going anyplace else other than this country, because you would know there's a very tense situation in this country. And all it takes is for one little incident to pop off, and that target on your back gets locked on you, and you're going to get a direct hit from all the racists in that country. And your Bakari Henderson, because he was miseducated about being a black man in America, he was not taught those life skills, he went and asked this white Serbian waitress to go take that selfie, and sadly, that set off a chain of events that cost that man his life. Because what your Bakari Henderson just didn't understand about things was that when it comes down to these beta white males, they look for any reason to show out and make themselves impressing these females in situations. Now, when it came down to this white Serbian waitress, All she was thinking about was getting a tip out of Bakari Henderson. And what these beta white males at this bar didn't understand was the same thing, is that when it comes down to these waitresses, it's their job to be nice to guys regardless of race. And what they're looking for is getting that dinar out of that guy's pocket so they can get a tip. And that's all that female was thinking about when she was taking that selfie. But you couldn't tell this to these beta white males, these white knights, who decided this nigga was coming into their bar and he was acting like them. So they were going to go put this nigger in his place. So when they saw him take that selfie with that waitress, they were going to try to show out and put him in his place and let him know that he did not belong there. They wanted to send a message not only to Bakari Henderson, but to other black men in the world. Unfortunately, your Bakari Henderson never got the memo or it was taught about Emmett Till, because when we look at Bakari Henderson's case, it mirrors that of Emmett Till. Now, your Emmett Till, back in the 1950s, was another young black male who was not taught the life skills about being a black man in the world. And he went down south and he went into this store operated by this Carolyn Donham and her husband. And all he did was look the wrong way at this Carolyn Donham, and she orchestrated his murder just to sate her ego. And all because your Emmett Till was not taught the life skills that he needed to understand how to survive in the world as a black man. When a black man is out in this world, he has to understand that the world perceives him completely different than it does a white man, a white woman, a non-black man like a Hispanic man, an Asian man, or an Arab man, or a non-black woman like a Hispanic woman, an Asian woman, or an Arab woman, or even a black woman. When it comes down to a black man, he is perceived to be a threat wherever he goes, not only in the United States, but abroad. And when it comes down to a black man, he has to watch himself out here, because any simple statement he makes can be perceived as being hostile, or any simple gesture that he makes can be perceived as him committing some sort of crime. And if he's out and about, he is perceived to be an enemy to everyone. So he has to watch himself in his actions and his interactions. This was a lesson your Bakari Henderson didn't get, because he was taught to believe in the rainbow. He was taught to believe we were all the same. And he was taught to believe that because he had white friends, those white friends would go out of their way to look out for him. At the end of the day, sadly, Bakari Henderson learned everything that I learned many years ago at 13 years old, that when you are a black man, you are on your own, whether you are in the United States or in one of these foreign countries. A black man is always on his own. This is why he has to watch his back in any interaction or any environment he's in. He has to have eyes in the back of his head, and he has to look out for himself, because no one else is going to look out for him. And when it comes down to guys like Bakari Henderson, they are not learning the life skills that they're needing, because we aren't teaching these boys the life skills that they need to learn. When it comes down to black boys these days, they are not getting the life skills that they need to survive in this world. And one of the reasons why I believe they're not getting the life skills is because their fathers are not in their lives, and they don't have older brothers or people there to mentor those black boys so they can understand how the world operates regarding them. When it comes down to a black man, he has to learn at an early age, whether it's 10, 11, 12, 13 years old, he has to watch himself in his interactions with white people, non-black people, and even black women, because any interaction, again, can lead to his last interaction on this planet, and that interaction may cost him his life or lead to him winding up getting locked up in prison. So a black man out here has to be extremely careful when he's out here. Unfortunately, Bakari Henderson was not taught these life skills, and because he was not taught these life skills, that interaction with that Serbian white female waitress cost him his life. I don't want to see any more other black men lose their lives, because that's why I'm making this video, because I understand how dangerous it is for black men out here. When it comes down to a black man, again, you are on your own in this world, and the rules regarding you are completely different than those of other people. And if you don't learn those unwritten social rules regarding black men, you are going into enemy lines without a strategy for your own survival. If you'd like to see me make more of these videos, you can help me by donating to my Patreon by clicking the link in the description box. $1 donation goes a long way. And if you want to learn more about men's issues, you can check out my Simp series books on Amazon.com by clicking the link in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.